Chain smoke your problems away. Smokepit Fairy Tales Part 4, Chapter 18, Rattrap. Chuck climbed out of a vent and hit the floor as silently as he could manage, scanning over the sub-ridge of the Arroyo. He didn't see any threats. He gave the signal for his team to come down and posted up with his rifle facing out. Scott, Martinez, and Vickers followed him close behind, sweeping their way through the passageways under the pipes and bulkheads. First platoon had been broken down to fire teams and pit against each other with simunition rounds. Before they broke up, Staff Sergeant Duke told the platoon,
"When you're on the enemy ship, things can get tight. You can get separated from your squad quite easily. You need to know how to handle yourself, both in small numbers and individually."
Duke's words echoed in Chuck's mind as Chuck squeezed into a broken hatch.
Things can get tight. Yeah, no shit.
Technically, Scott was the team's point man. But with only 3 Marines under him, Chuck never liked the idea of following them in combat. He pulled the rest of himself through the hatch and waved in the team. Vickers squeezed through the rusty, half-open doorway. As soon as she plopped through, sim rounds rained down on the 2 of them in the room.
God damn it!
Chuck screamed out in frustration. The rounds didn't penetrate their suits, but they hurt and left a sting similar to Yellow Jackets.
Who fucking killed me?
Chuck looked up to see Duke, Thatch, Akon, and Yorick behind a flipped desk.
"You kept your team apart for too long. You're vulnerable."
Duke growled at him.
Yeah, sorry about that, Staff Sergeant.
Duke pointed to the Marine behind Chuck.
"Don't apologize to me, I'm fine. Apologize to Vickers. You got her killed. And now Martinez and Scott are on the other side of the hatch and can't get to you. You left them all alone."
Shame and embarrassment flooded over Chuck. Martinez stuck his face through the crack Chuck and Vickers had crawled through. It was swiftly met with a round from Akon's rifle. His mask banged and he fell back into the passageway.
"Now Scott's out there all by her lonesome. Why are you up front anyway?"
Staff Sergeant, I think in a fire team I should be leading from up front. I should be the one to get hit if anyone does. I trust my Marines to have my back. In a squad, it's different. But if it's just the 4 of us, I need to lead from up here.
Corporal Royce, I understand where you're coming from, but your place is in the middle. If your point man gets hit, it's your job to take care of them. Let them be your eyes and ears, almost an extension of yourself. Your team needs to work on its own element with you as the brain. I know your Marines all know your job and can do it, but you're the team leader and it's your job to lead.
Chuck didn't agree with Duke, but he understood what he did wrong.
Aye, Staff Sergeant.
Thatch pulled Vickers up by her arm.
Get Martinez and stand by outside. Scott's all alone.
Capulet stepped over a pipe in the passageway leading to the hangar bay. Schneider put his fist up and the fire team froze. Schneider's head swiveled as he surged to the front. She took 1 step forward, then another. She signaled that the team was moving again and proceeded forward to the hatch to the hangar. When the team got there, they kneeled and crept inside. The doorways were almost always in ambush position in that space. They made it in and slowly cleared the room. Nothing. No one. Capulet halted the team and used haptic communications to tell them to post up on the overhead storage balconies and wait for another team to arrive and ambush them. They held their position for what felt like forever. They spotted another fire team entering the hangar, but they properly utilized cover and concealment. Capulet's team couldn't get a good shot, so they held their fire rather than give away their position. Capulet realized that his egress route wasn't as well thought out as he had planned. He looked around the area and decided to post up on another storage rack. The one across the deck had a hatch on the ledge. It would have to be covered, but he wouldn't be trapped if he got pinned down. He told his team to follow him and slid down the ladder to the deck. When the 4 of them were at the bottom, sim rounds would riddle them from the platform they were just on.
You're dead!
Akon barked down at them.
Fuck!
Capulet grumbled. He looked around for the rest of the team Akon was with.
Where are the others?
Yorick tapped Capulet's shoulder.
Boo.
Capulet rolled his eyes and waved his Marines out.
Alright, let's go.
First fire team slugged through the engine rooms. McKenzie heard someone moving down there. He and his team took light, slow steps. The room had a tendency to echo, and McKenzie wanted to sneak up on whoever he thought was down there with him. They checked behind the hardware, pipes, and crates, working their way around counterclockwise, then sweeping through the room, never moving more than a foot a second. Halfway through, McKenzie saw a foot. Someone was taking cover behind the machinery, and they left their boot exposed. McKenzie stopped his team, using a hand and arm signal to tell Stewart to come with him, and for Irish and Hawk to flank the position. They split into 2 couples and advanced. McKenzie moved in on the target. The boot moved. McKenzie froze. The foot was just repositioning. He kept advancing, trying to make sure he had somewhere to dive or jump if he was noticed. He turned and got into a position where he could see whomever he was stalking's back. McKenzie almost fired, but he wanted to make it a close kill, maybe even silent. He got within a few feet. There was no one else around. McKenzie thought it was odd that this guy was solitaire.
Maybe he's the last of his team?
Then it clicked that he might be in an ambush. He swiveled his head but saw no one else. Then he wondered why the Marine would just be kneeling there covering a passageway like that. Perhaps the rest of his team was on the other hatches and they slipped through somehow. McKenzie shook off the feeling and focused back on the kneeling Marine in front of him. He went to push the muzzle of his rifle into the Marine's back. But when it was only a few inches away, the Marine snapped around and punched the rifle to the wall. McKenzie fired a round, but it missed and skid down the bulkheads. The other Marine pulled the rifle away from him and butt-stroked him in the gut with his own weapon. There was a hail of fire over the next few seconds, and McKenzie's team all rogered up as dead. McKenzie led his team out of the rusty Arroyo into the red Martian sand. Half of the platoon was sitting by their packs around the medical truck. He pulled his headgear off and sat on the tailgate next to Capulet, Chuck, Stockton, and Christchurch.
Who got you?
Capulet asked McKenzie.
Staff Sergeant.
McKenzie spat and pulled out a cigarette.
Yeah, those four fucked us all up.
Chuck grumbled.
Think we'd be better at this by now.
It's not that we suck. We've just been careless because we haven't been in actual combat for a couple of years.
You're not wrong. Shit, I haven't shot anyone since I was a Lance Corporal.
None of us have, but Duke, Allensworth, and O'Con are fucking nightmares when they're alone in the dark.
I always wondered why that was.
Chuck lit a cigarette. Capulet reared his head back.
What? All the drinking you do with him? He's never told you about when him and O'Con got trapped on that Russian carrier alone and had to evade for half a week until they could hijack an escape pod?
Chuck, McKenzie, and Stockton looked at Capulet in shock.
No.
Yeah, they raided the ship, but it was one of those deals where they weren't there to capture it. They were just sent in to disable it, so the Russian Navy had to divert resources to rescue them for some bigger operation. Anyway, while they were aboard, the whole squad gets killed besides Thatch and O'Con, and they were presumed dead and got left behind.
Stockton winced.
Jesus.
Then they had to sneak around and steal food and try not to die from their gunshot and burn wounds for days until they thought it was safe enough to load up in a pod and hurl out.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Chuck was flabbergasted that he'd never heard that before. Then again, Thatch didn't really talk about when he was a junior Marine.
Wait, why don't they wear their Purple Hearts?
I don't know, I guess they don't want to talk about it. They don't wear their bronze stars either.
What the fuck did that son of a bitch do? Usually people brag about that shit.
Nope. Why do you think he drinks so much?
I don't know. I just thought he was an alcoholic. Shit, I thought the fights we'd been in were bad.
The next Friday night rolled around. McKenzie played an old video game on Thatch's TV. Stockton sat beside him and listened while Chuck and Thatch jammed on their guitars. They had their amps plugged in and took turns shredding on their six strings. They played their usual songs about space in the South, even though neither of them had ever actually been to Earth since they were infants. Then they started up a new one that Stockton and McKenzie hadn't heard before.
I do my drinking with the devil. We do our dance around the fire. Live and breathe with sailors like Jerry. Taught me to be the best liar. I do not worship Satan, but he's got some good ideas. I am the thing that snaps and bites and fucks up the arena. Bullshit excuses is what makes you useless. Go tell your friends this Rattrap winters clog up your senses, and you're in a suicidal fright. Don't bother looking through the window. I am the voices in the night. You can stay in California with your gold ring prophecy. I'll be laughing at you from hell. Your sorcery will work on me. Bullshit is your high class. No wolves can kiss my ass. The fucking rat traps.
The song ended with a thick, meaty guitar solo. Chuck looked over at Thatch, taking off his guitar.
Smoke?
Yeah.
They put down their instruments and the four of them walked outside.
So is Rattrap what you guys are calling yourselves now?
It seems to fit.
What's with the demon stuff in that last song?
Well, what's a song without the devil?
Thatch flicked open his lighter and burned the end of his cigarette. Chuck pointed his finger at Thatch.
Valid.
What are we doing for Christmas?
Stockton checked the date on her phone.
Oh shit, that's next week.
I fucking know, right? I love Christmas.
I'm just staying here.
Yes,
Me too.
Me too.
Thatch looked around the courtyard.
So, get drunk, cook a lot of food, and binge watch Christmas movies?
Sounds good to me.
Stockton took a swig of her drink. Thatch's phone buzzed. He pulled it out to see a message from Samum. Thatch scoffed. He hadn't heard from her in a week, and he was still salty from their last encounter. The message read,
Come over?
She has the audacity to be a bitch to me at the end of a night out and not talk to me for a week and then just text, come over?
Thatch slid the phone back into his pocket. He was approaching the edge of fury.
Hey, I have to go deal with some shit.
Nazik?
Yep.
Thatch flicked his cigarette away and walked to Samum's barracks. He knocked on her door, the first one on the left. She immediately swung it open and then retreated to the dark corner of the room. She was wearing her red camo trousers, boots, and undershirt. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she looked distraught. The fires of fury in Thatch's mind quelled to concerned worry when he saw how frantically she paced around the room. Samum flung herself into her chair in an overly dramatic manner.
What's up?
Please, kill me now.
Thatch's mind shot to rescue mode.
What happened?
I'm in the Marine Corps, is what happened.
Okay.
One of those too often times when the Marine Corps makes me want to blow my fucking brains out.
Samum rolled her head back on the chair, facing the ceiling. Thatch abhorred when people talked like that.
So, what happened?
I live to work and nothing else, and I have a weigh-in on the 2nd, so I might as well start starving myself now.
Well, you know,
Thatch tried to think of something to lighten the mood.
at least they're not shaving your head and sending you to Venus.
I'm not in the mood to laugh, Thatch. I am in the mood to jump off a bridge.
She bunched up her face and shot an evil look at him from under her eyebrows. Thatch came further into the room and sat in the chair next to her.
I would appreciate if you didn't do that.
It's okay. I'll land backward. You can have my face taken to a taxidermist, and then you can hang it in your room.
Her eyes turned red and she sniffed the snot back into her nose.
I'd rather sew it to another animal, make a jackalope. Or a samumalope. I'll pet it when I go senile.
Thatch tried to joke, faking a smile.
That's quite an image.
Samum sobbed and rubbed the first tear that fell from her eyes with her wrist. Thatch's heart started to race. The ants in his subconscious swirled around again and started marching over his body. He could feel their tiny pricks in his skin. He hated seeing people he cared about in pain and didn't know what to do. He reached over and pulled her into his arms, rubbing her shoulders. Samum started to pout heavy sobs into Thatch's chest, blubbering through the snot and tears.
I mean, it's not bad enough. My dad thought I was too fat and starved me when I was growing up, or that my cousins molested me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Thatch was at a loss for words. The ants marching over his skin pulled out their megaphones and started breaking windows in the imaginary town in his mind.
What the fuck do I say to that? Wait, why is she telling me this?
And so what? Now, at work, they're whipping me like a Hebrew slave and telling me I'm too fat.
Thatch kept rubbing her shoulders. He felt the pain seething out of her.
Samum, I think you're beautiful just the way you are.
It's not what you think. It's what the Marine Corps thinks. I'm not going to eat anything besides vegetables and water between now and the 1st. I have a weigh-in on the 2nd.
That doesn't sound like a Merry Christmas at all.
It sounds like an honorable discharge.
She was quiet for a minute.
I keep having this thought run through my head.
What's that?
I first had it when my gunny was raping me.
Nah, fucking hell.
I keep thinking I'm going to die in the same desert I grew up in.
He held her for a few minutes in silence. She rested her head on his shoulder and he pulled her in tight. He glanced around her room and saw an open knife and a half-handwritten letter on her secretary.
God damn it.
Samum's sobs slowed and her tears eventually dried. She gently pushed back away from Thatch.
I'm gonna take a shower and go home for the rest of the weekend.
Thatch thumbed the water off her face.
I'm gonna take this for a while.
He said, placing the knife into his pocket.
I appreciate you.
Call me if you need anything.
Thatch kissed her on the forehead. He got back out to the courtyard and struggled to light a cigarette in his shaking hands. He puffed the first burn and inhaled every ounce of smoke his lungs could hold.
Jesus, that chick's fucked up.
He finished his cigarette, trying to process what just happened, and went back to his room.
Everything all right?
Chuck asked as Thatch closed the door.
Yeah.
You don't look like it.
Well, what am I supposed to look like?
I don't know.
Chuck saw that Thatch didn't want to talk about whatever was going on and went back to fiddling with the guitar. Thatch poured a strong glass of rum and sat on one of his chairs.
You guys ready for February?
Do we know where we're going yet?
I've heard rumors, but I don't know what colonies will be hitting for sure.
McKenzie leaned back from the TV, but still kept the character in the game he was playing in the fight.
Think we'll go inside the Earth's orbit this time?
Maybe for port, but I haven't been there since I was a boot, and every time we went, we got into a fight.
Thatch took a deep gulp of his drink.
The Russians don't like you to go too far past Earth, but they're defensive in it.
Chuck flipped through the pages in his mind.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, all the boardings I've been on were around Luna.
Thatch didn't think he'd had enough to drink or smoke yet for the night.
I'm gonna go burn one. Y'all wanna go?
Nah, we'll be here when you get back, though.
McKenzie stayed focused on the TV. Thatch downed his drink and grabbed the half-empty bottle of rum on the way out. He lit a cigarette and drank the liquor straight. His tobacco was half burnt when Samum texted him.
Come over?
He smoked as he walked back across the yard and flicked the cigarette into the bushes before he walked inside. He knocked on the doors and she pulled him in. She was wearing her green-on-green PT gear, and her hair was still a wreck.
I thought you were going home.
Thatch walked deeper into her room.
I changed my mind, and I don't really want to be alone.
Okay.
She sat in the bed and pulled her hair out of its tail. Thatch took a heavy swig from his bottle.
What do you think of me?
Samum's voice was almost sad.
I think you're a wonderful human being. I'm happy that you're in my life, and I care about you more than I probably should.
What do you mean? More than you should.
I care about you a lot, Samum. Would I have done that if I didn't?
He said, pointing at the painting that was pinned to the wall.
I don't know. People do things sometimes that they don't mean.
She looked back up at the painting, then back to him.
What is it that you like about me?
You're passionate and smart and funny, and you have a fire raging inside of you. I ain't really got no more.
Samum pulled Thatch back up into the bed to sit beside her, and he took a deep swig of his rum.
What do you mean you don't have it anymore?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of shit. I really don't have faith in the human race.
That's okay, though. You're only half.
She said, trying to be funny. Thatch wasn't amused.
You know what I mean.
I do.
Thatch finished the bottle.
You got any alcohol?
Samum got up and returned with a bottle of clear grain alcohol. She handed it to Thatch, and he started pouring it down his throat. He leaned back and lay down on Samum's bed. She straddled him, wrapped her arms around his shoulder, and placed her head on his chest. When half the bottle was gone, Samum asked him,
So, what happened?
When?
Whenever.
Thatch took another deep swig.
We were on Mercury trying to hunt down some Russians who were there to get some transmission beacon that had some fucking intelligence on it we needed. We knew we couldn't beat them to it, but we could catch up to them before they could get to their objective. But I guess they figured that out too.
Thatch took another drink.
It was so fucking hot. The damn sun was like right there. We ended up finding the damn thing, but we had walked into an ambush. Ended up taking a few of them, but one of our vehicles got hit, and me and another Marine were the only people who could get to it and pull the Marines out. Their suits melted to their skin before their life support failed them. The lucky ones suffocated before they burnt.
When was that?
That was a PFC. I really wish I didn't see that, but I didn't even really know the guys. It was just, I was just new and in a different platoon, but that shit, I don't fucking know.
Thatch paused for a sip. Samum rubbed Thatch's hair and kissed his forehead, then his neck. Thatch woke up not knowing where he was. He looked around the room confused before putting it together where he was when he saw Samum sleeping next to him. He rubbed his face, got out of the bed, and went for a glass of water. He put his clothes back on, accidentally kicking the empty bottles while doing so. He leaned over, kissed Samum, and went back to sleep.
Hey everybody, what's up? Thanks for listening to another chapter set of Chain Smoke Your Problems Away. As always, if you don't want to wait for me to read these to you, you can just go get the book. And hopefully this whole thing will be on Audible in January, I'm aiming for. And it'll keep playing here on YouTube until I think June. So if you don't want to wait for that, I do put these on Patreon as soon as I get done with them, vice having you wait for them here. But anyway, thanks again for listening to Rattrap. Anyway, bit of news. Michelle Packard, who plays Gladewine, the 5th book in her Maddie Baker series came out this Sunday. And they're good books. I'd suggest go reading them. It's kind of like if John Wick was the chick from Sex and the City, except for it's not girly. It's more action and conspiracy theory type stuff, but lots of guns akimbo. So go check that out. The next one's called Baker. I had the pleasure of arc started reading it, a few months ago before it came out. It's good. It ended the fucking way I wanted it to. It was fucking perfect. It was great. Go check out the whole series. But also, on that, Diane Spencer, the lady who plays Penelope and Samantha and Aya and Okan in this one, her new comedy special is coming out this Friday. It's called Sweet and Sour, and I'm fucking stoked. Now, Diane's my absolute favorite fucking comedian, and I've been waiting for this for a fucking minute. So, you already know that you like her voice. Well, I'm presuming you do if you listen to these. So, go check out her comedy. It's good. It's pretty raunchy. But then again, if you're used to Smokepit humor, you'll be fine. But anyway, on that, I would like to thank my YouTube channel members and people over on Patreon who get these chapters as soon as I get done editing them. And I'd like to thank everyone who's gotten the War Chest, which is the box set of these books. And I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry if I've forgotten anybody. But anyway, Patreon people and War Chest people and YouTube member people also get their name in the credits. So there's that for you. All right, I hope your Thanksgiving went well and that you're staying warm. And here are your bloopers. All right, you have a good one. Ciao.
Okay, so this is the third take for Chapter 18. Hollis as Samum. What's up? Rattrap. And, audio has been sounding A-okay on my end. And, I might try to just, blow this one out of the proportion here, because she is very dramatic. One might even say she's making shit up. Because she's a crazy bitch.
Alright, Chapter 18. Actually, hold on, I gotta call Trip.
This is a test. Smokepit fairy tales, Chain smoke your problems away,
Fucking dehydrated.
Prepare to read Chapter 18, Rattrap.
Chapter 18, Rattrap.
Okay. Chain smoke your problems away. Smokepit Fairy Tales Part 4, Chapter 18, Rattrap.
What? With all the drinking you do with him, he's never told you about when him and Okan got trapped in that Russian carrier alone and had to evade for a week and a half. Fuck. Yeah, fuck that up. Redo.
Give you some variety. Gonna make the word simunition.
What? With all the drinking you do with him, he's never told you about when him and Okan got trapped on that Russian carrier alone and had to evade for half a week until they could hijack an escape pod. Fuck, I need to do that one again.
Giant paragraph time!
Fuck me.
You hadn't heard from her. Reading!
Shit. Skipped something. Alright, taking it. Skippity skipperoo. Alright.
It's a 15-page chapter!
Pausey pause.